What's going on, y'all? Chuck Nunface here. Going to be taking a look at this one right here. This is not something new. Spyderco Endura in K390. Wharncliffe edition, now discontinued. What's different about it is it's sporting these full Ti scales and deep carry pocket clip, Ti backspacer, all from Flytanium. So, a couple weeks ago, or about a week ago really, on my Instagram, at Chuck_Nunface, I kind of put it out there, put a question in my story saying, hey, anybody know where I can get metal, either aluminum or titanium scales for an Endura? And I got a few suggestions. Check out AWT, Applied Weapons Tech, check out, I don't know, there's a couple other different companies out there, you know, go look here, go look there. But I couldn't really find anything that was in stock. Now, the Endura, while certainly one of Spyderco's, I would say, probably one of Spyderco's most popular models, Delica, Endura, those knives right there, they've been around forever. I mean, this is the Endura 4. Of course, the Wharncliffe version is not going to be as popular, but it's still the same platform. And Flytanium was one of the names that kept on coming up, and I was aware of Flytanium, but they weren't my first choice. Frankly, I would have preferred aluminum for weight savings, but, you know, nothing in production over at Original Goat. You know, nothing through Applied Weapons Tech, like I said. And so I started looking at titanium, and, you know, I like the ones that brain fart, that Flytanium had, and they did have them in stock, which is also a major plus, but they are made in China. So for me, that was a downside. I was kind of looking at it. I would have preferred something USA made. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. I couldn't find anything out there that was what I was looking for, that was USA made, that was readily available. So I did want something that I could go ahead and make that change, because the Endura had been a knife that, you know, I recently started carrying the K390 Wharncliffe again. You know, I bought this, well, actually I got two when they decided they were going to discontinue it. And then I ended up selling one recently because I was like, I don't need two of these. They're still in stock. It's not like you can't get them anymore. But I did buy two because I was like, I want a user and I want, you know, one to kind of keep nice. Because they were cheap, and they're still cheap. You know, they're definitely out there and they're available. But, I mean, I was kind of been carrying it for a little while here, and I was like, you know, this would just be better with metal scales. And so I started looking. In any case, long story short, they came in the mail yesterday. I put them on last night. I was going to do a video of the install, and frankly, I'm glad I did it, because I didn't do that because I forgot how much of an absolute pain in the ass it is to assemble Delica, Endura, and Della, those Spyderco backlock models. It really is a pain, because there is a spring that locks into the backspacer here. It's a bar spring, and it's under tension. You have to put the blade in. You have to get everything kind of seated just right, because that lock bar is going to go into the, you know, into the tang of the blade right there. It's kind of hard to see, but it's going to seat right in there, and it's going to lock the blade open. And so everything's got to be just right. And you got to keep it under tension, and it's just a pain in the butt. It really is. And so I'm really glad I didn't attempt to film it last night, because it would have been a lot of cuts, and it would have been really frustrating, or it would have been like a 45-minute, hour-long video, something like that. It just took me longer than it probably should have taken. I don't know. I mean, I know there are videos out there where they, you know, guys will take apart the Endura, the Delica, and they'll do blade swaps, and they'll do scale swaps and things like that. I've seen those videos, but none of them really appear easy. There's no, in my estimation, I don't think there's any hack to do it. If you're doing a complete changeover, you just kind of have to act like you got 10 fingers that are free to go and hold the scale down and manipulate everything. And I don't know, it's just kind of a real pain. But in the end, I did get it done. Second drawback, first drawback is the fact that these are Chinese made, which they're US made, or, you know, Japan made, something like that, Taiwan, something like that. But, you know, that ship has sailed, c'est la vie. Is I was hoping I was going to be able to leave the liners out of the equation. I think it would be cool if they took a little more time with their engineering and they designed it so you could just forego the use of the liners. But these, as you see here, it's the body, well, they're not screws, they're screws on this side. So these are posts that go in, they're like Chicago screws almost. Not really, that's not a good description of what they actually are. But and they're they're in the shape of like a D, so they lock in. Now these holes are perfectly round as they are in the original Spyderco, the holes drilled into the scale, but the liner is the one that matches up with the D hole. And so you have to put these posts in the same way so they don't rotate or anything like that, and then you screw them in from the back. It would have been cool if they had designed it where they put a little bit more of the frame support in there and everything else, so you could forego the liners, and they went ahead and milled it in the scale itself, so you could forget about the liners, but you do need those. And lastly, as far as downsides go, I am getting some rubbing on the blade, as you can see right there. And I mean, that's just dirt and like from lube. I have more lube than I need on there right now because it is rubbing, and so I was seeing if it can just kind of loosen up. And it is, you can't see on this probably, but you are getting some marring. I'm getting some marring right there on the inside of the scale, which I don't really care about, but it is kind of affecting the smoothness of the open. Because I can loosen the pivot screw, but I will get blade play, and I don't want that, so I've got it tightened down pretty tight. So I think what I'm going to do tonight is I may take the scale off. I'll take the scale off, and I do have an extra set of Endura washers, and I may double up on the washers because they're really paper thin washers that they use on these, and I have an extra set. And I'll probably put the extra set of washers in there, so I'll have 4 washers, 2 on each side, and I'll see if that kind of gives a little bit more space in between the scales and the blade. Because I think it's not precisely machined where the liners come completely flush with the scale itself, the inside of the scale. So there's a cutout within the scale that's milled out, and it's nested for the liners, but they're not completely flush. The liners don't line up completely flush with the inside of the scale, and so I think that's what's causing the rubbing on the blade, that contact on both sides. So I think I'll just bite the bullet and I'll take it apart. I don't have to do a complete teardown, but I do have to take the blade out, so it's kind of going to be a pain again, but I just did it recently, so it shouldn't be too bad. In any case, I just figured I'd showcase this. Overall, I'm very satisfied. It feels awesome in hand. It's smooth TI, but I don't feel like I need texturing on it or anything else. The look is what I wanted it to be. It's got that nice, it's kind of monochromatic look. And it feels great. That extra heft in hand really feels great with this knife. So overall, I am very pleased with my decision to go ahead and put the titanium scales on the Endura Wharncliffe. So that's going to do it for me. Like, follow, subscribe. I certainly do appreciate that. Give me a follow on Instagram at Chuck_Nunface, and stay tuned for the next one. Peace.